حي على الفلاح.
The country, located in Western Africa, is landlocked and takes its name from the Niger River, which flows through the southwestern part of its territory. The name Niger derives in turn from the phrase Jer Geran, meaning river among rivers, in the Tamashek language. Niger is home to several ethnic groups, the largest of which include the Hausa, the Songhai Zarma, and the Tuareg. Islam was spread into what is now Niger beginning in the 15th century by both the expansion of the Songhai Empire in the west and the influence of the trans-Saharan trade traveling from the Maghreb and Egypt. Tuareg expansion from the north, culminating in their seizure of the far eastern oasis from the Kanem-Bornu Empire in the 17th centuries, spread distinctively Berber practices. Both Zarma and Hausa areas were greatly influenced by the 18th and 19th century Fula-led Sufi brotherhoods, most notably the Sokoto Caliphate in today's Nigeria. Today, Islam in Niger accounts for the vast majority of the nation's religious adherents. The faith is practiced by more than 99.3% of the population. The vast majority of Muslims in Niger follow the Maliki school of thought. It is perhaps worth noting at the start that the spread of Islam in Africa was much more than the passing on and adoption of religious ideas. As the UNESCO General History of Africa summarizes, Islam is not only a religion, it is a comprehensive way of life, catering for all the fields of human existence. Islam provides guidance for all aspects of life, individual and social, material and moral, economic and political, legal and cultural, national and international. It is thus perhaps more comprehensible, given the above, why so many African rulers and elites were ready to adopt a foreign religion when it also brought with it definite advantages of governance and wealth. Once the religion had reached the Savannah region, which spreads across Africa below the Sahara Desert, it was adopted by ruling African elites. Although very often indigenous beliefs and rituals continued to be practiced or were even blended with the new religion, as Muslim traders penetrated deeper into Africa, so the religion spread from one empire to another, taking hold first at Gao in 985 CE and then with the Ghana Empire. From there, the religion spread eastwards to the Mali Empire and the Songhai Empire, with the adoption of Islam by the rulers of the Kingdom of Kanem between the 11th and 13th century CE and Hausa land from the late 14th century CE. The religion's encirclement of Africa below the Sahara Desert was complete. Let's look at how Niger adopted the religion. Niger is strongly multi-ethnic. The Hausa comprise 35% of the population, the Zarma Songhai 21%, the Tuareg Berbers 11%, the Fulbe 10%, the Kanuri Manga Kanem-Bornu 5%, and the Tubu Arabs and the Gormanche each less than 1%. All these ethnic groups have played major roles in the diffusion of Islam in the Western Sudan. The Hausa, Songhai, and Kanuri states contributed significantly to early conversions of Islam. During the course of territorial and political expansion, much was also achieved through the establishment of local madrasas in the spirit of tajdid, or peaceful reform. Although some individual Fulbe were known for their contributions as ulama, the Fulbe and their affiliate group, the Tukolor or Torobe, are most noted for the reformist movements that they carried out throughout West Africa in the early mid-18th century. Some communities in Niger have historical ties to ancient Muslim communities, such as the Dioula, Sonink, and Lamtuna Berbers, who traveled the Saharan Sahelian trade routes from the 7th to 9th century. Others swept into Islam by forces unleashed by the Fulbe in the early 19th century. The region's first contact with Islam, however, occurred around 665 CE when the Arabs conquered the Berber territories under Uqba ibn Nafi' al-Fihri, who had founded Qayrawa at the northern edge of the Sahara Desert and later traveled south to Kawar. In the 8th century, the Iber Korayan, Berbers, in the preceding century, began moving south. Approximately 2 centuries later, long-distance trade through the Sonink state of Ghana extended the influence of Islam through the western Sudan. The Songhai Empire was first established along the eastern portion of the Niger River at Dendi, and today the eastern region of Niger is populated by many groups from Songhai who fled during the Moroccan invasions there in 1492 to 1510. The Islamic theory and practice had already been diffused throughout the region before the invasion, and many communities had already drifted eastward into present-day Niger. During the era of the Empire of Mali, founded by Sundiata Keita around 1200 CE, Islamic practice spread especially among the elites. The Mali expansion encouraged the eastward movement of Songhai communities. Merchant missionaries are said to have traveled eastward from Niani to the Hausa kingdoms to establish the practice of Islam there. Today, more than 98% of Hausa people in Niger are Muslim. At the other geographical extreme of present-day Niger, the king of Kanem, Mahumi, is reported to have encouraged the practice of Islam during his reign. He established the Saifawa dynasty, which later expanded to Bornu. Under Mai Idris Aloma, the Tuba populations came under the Islamic influence, encouraged by the state. Many Islamic reforms were established during his reign, and there was also great commercial activity. By the 15th century, scholarly communities were established throughout Kanem and Bomu. Here are some of the main reasons for the spread of Islam in Niger. 1. The nature of Islam as a religion accepting polygamy to some extent. Its tolerance of tradition African religions, its simplicity of doctrine, and mode of worship helped propagators to make converts in Africa. These factors also made Islam easily adaptable to the African communities with which it came in contact. 2. Trade. Another major reason that led to the rapid spread of Islam in Niger and West Africa was the Trans-Saharan Trade Network. From the 7th century onwards, Muslim traders from the Maghrib and the Sahara started settling first in some of the market centers in the Sahel and then in the savanna areas. 3. Activities of Muslim clerics. These clerics or learned men founded their own religious centers which attracted students from all parts of Niger, and who, on the completion of their studies and training, went back to their own homes to win converts. Some clerics devoted a great deal of their time to writing books and instructions on all aspects of Islam for the education and conversion of people or the purification and strengthening of Islam. 4. Activities of rulers. Islam gained ground in West Africa through the activities of the individual rulers. But perhaps one of the most important ways in which they encouraged acceptance of Islam was through their own conversion. With a Muslim king or ruler, it rapidly became a matter of prestige among the aristocracy also to convert to Islam in many kingdoms. Many rulers made considerable efforts to encourage Muslim institutions such as Islamic tax and legal systems or the provision of facilities such as mosques. Through the appointment of Muslim officials such as judges and butchers who observe the Islamic code and to lead prayers, celebrating Muslim festival, and ordering every town under their control to observe the ritual prayers. The pilgrimages that many of the rulers undertook, such as Mansa Musa and Askia Muhammad, had a considerable spiritual effect, increasing their determination both to strengthen and purify Islam and to spread it even further. 5. Intermarriage. Islam also spread on to West Africa through intermarriages. The Muslim merchants from North Africa came down, settled, and married the African women who became Muslims, including their children. Islam had a great impact on the people of Niger. Unlike Christianity, Islam is not just a religion or a mass of doctrines or beliefs and rituals, but rather a complete way of life or civilization. At the beginning of the 16th century, the Qadiriyya was introduced in Katsina, Gao, and the Air, Tuareg. Although Katsina now lies in northern Nigeria and Gao in eastern Mali, their influence as centers of Islamic philosophy and education are still felt in Niger today. An Islamic teacher from Tawat, known as Majhili, is credited with introducing Maliki tenets during this period. And this school is the most widely followed in the region now. With the fall of the Songhai Empire to the Moroccans in 1591 and the extension of Malinki influence over the eastern Niger River area under the Mali Empire, successive migrations took place from the Messina Plains, including those of Fulbi dissenters with Sheikh Ahmado, and from Gao and Kukia to the town of Sai, which has since been a religious center. Sai in southwestern Niger enjoyed a religious and cultural renaissance at the beginning of the 19th century with the arrival of the famous Wala Alpha Mahamani Diop, who had in 1804 proclaimed a jihad against the Hausa king of Gobir and present-day Niger. He also supported similar jihads in what are now northern Cameroon, northern Burkina Faso, and in Niger at Sai, Lamorde, Torodi, and Lamorde Bitikin Kobi. This renaissance was encouraged by the great Fulbe Islamic leader Sheikh Ousmane Danfodio, a member of the Qadiriyya. Until the middle of the 19th century, the Qadiriyya was the only Islamic brotherhood among the nomads of Niger, as well as among the sedentary communities of Maradi, Dakoro, Tahawa, and Zinder. During the later 19th century, the Tijaniya Brotherhood supplanted the Qadiriyya. Sheikh Umar Tal, a native of Senegal, important in Niger's history, is remembered for his promulgation of the Tijaniya there, was unsuccessfully resisted by the son of Ousmane Danfodio, Muhammad Bello, who died in 1837. Today, Tijaniya remains the most popularly represented order in Niger. Its principal centers of adherence are in Sai, Tessawa, Zinder, Maradi, Gori, and Dosso. There is also a brotherhood that derives from the Tijaniya, that of the Mamalist in Sai and Lamorde. The Sanusiya has its largest membership among the Tuareg of Air and the Tubu of Bilma. Other brotherhoods include the Shadiliya, which was followers among the Tuareg of Ingal and Zinder, and the strict sect of the Yan Kobli, with followers near Zinder and among the Fulbi of Gori. In 1981, an Islamic university was built in Sai to commemorate its long history in Islamic learning, with funding contributed from numerous Islamic countries throughout the world. Muslims in Niger remain closely linked to the rest of the Islamic world. In fact, Niger hosted an international Islamic conference in 1982. Niger was an important economic crossroads, and the empires of Songhai, Mali, Gao, and Kanem Bornu, as well as a member of Hausa states, claimed control over portions of the area. During recent centuries, the nomadic Tuareg formed large confederations, pushed southward, and, siding with various Hausa states, clashed with the Fulani Empire of Sokoto, which had gained control of much of the Hausa territory in the late 18th century. The area eventually became known as the Bornu Empire, which ended in 1893. The Ottoman Empire claimed nominal rule of the Agadez region. It became the furthest point of the empire in Africa and remained under nominal control until the French invasion of the late 19th century. On 11th July 1960, France agreed to Niger becoming fully independent.